Morning, everyone. This is Joanna.
And Heinan.
We're doing this webinar on Slack today, and you're probably saying, why are they doing a webinar on Slack? And I'll tell you why. We were having lunch, as we try to do every few months, because Heinan's a buddy, and he said something along the lines of, guys use Slack? And I said, absolutely, we've been using it for years, love it. And he said, we've been using it for years, love it. He was talking about how it's been a game changer for our organizations. And I said something along the lines of, hey, we should do a webinar about this, because if this has been so valuable for our organizations, I bet it would be valuable for our clients and associations. So Heinan said,
yes,
sign me up.
Let's do it.
So,
I think we didn't stop talking about what we were doing with Slack for the entire lunch.
I think you might be right. And, you know, we don't own anything in the company, and we don't know the owners, but we just like it so much. And in conversations with clients, they say, you know, I've been looking into that. So let's go and get.
Yeah, I mean, listen, it's very rare to have a program that actually is a game changer.
Absolutely.
You know, and we saw it and found it, and so I'm really happy to be doing this with you here.
So before we get started today, a couple of housekeeping rules. In the next day or two, we're going to go ahead and send you a link to the slides and the recording. So feel free to watch the recording again. Feel free to share it with others in your organization. This is a free webinar, and we just love Slack so much that, you know, we want everyone to have the good word. Now, phones will be automatically muted so that as phones are ringing, dogs are barking, ambulances are going in the background, we can keep right on rolling. If you are experiencing problems, then go ahead and dial 703-838-9777 and ask for Renee, and she'll help you. If you have a question during the webinar, then go back to your the WebEx control panel. And I'm logged in as Joanna. Heinan is logged in as Heinan. But go to Matrix Group Room 3, and Brian Clark, my esteemed associate, is monitoring the WebEx, and he'll let us know that there's a question. If you've got questions or comments, contact information for both of us is at the end of the slides. But please feel free to post them to our social media, Optimal Networks and Matrix Group, and we'll do the best we can to answer. And again, we're not necessarily Slack experts, we're just evangelists for the platform.
That's right.
Okay, so many of you know our organizations. Many of you know Optimal. In fact, we have many, many clients in common, but we just thought we'd spend 2 minutes talking about our organizations. I'm Joanna Pineda. I'm CEO and Chief Troublemaker at Matrix. We're a digital agency. We work almost exclusively with associations and nonprofits, and our clients hire us to help them solve these types of problems. We have organizations that really want to increase their membership or stem some kind of decline, or they're saying, you know, we really got to work on our membership retention. They might have membership retention numbers that they're not as happy with, or perhaps they're saying, we really want to retain our members by really staying very relevant to our members. They want to reach new audiences with a brand. We've got a number of clients these days that are saying we really have to do a better job of reaching out to Capitol Hill or to consumers or to a specific audience within a specific industry. And finally, many of our clients really look to us to help them increase staff productivity because they've got a lot of systems that are, you know, not connected, and they really want a seamless experience both for their staff as well as their clients, as well as their members. So if you go to the next slide, Heinan, and we do all of this through essentially web, mobile, and social offerings. We also have an association management software called Matrix Max. So if you are looking to redesign your website, if you're looking for a new association management system, if you're looking for a way to really kind of increase member engagement and figure out analytics, you know, what type of insight you can be getting, we hope you'll give us a call. Tell us about Optimal.
Cool turn. So I thought I'd put it all in numeric format for you. We're a IT outsourcing firm, and just in a big nutshell, we're having 3,700 people with their computers, with their networks, with their information systems. We're managing 600 servers. We have 120 clients. The majority of them are nonprofits and associations. We also do some law firms and then some small business. We've got 41 people. We've been doing this, believe it or not, since 1991.
Oh my God, even more.
Isn't that crazy?
Younger than me.
I started when I was 2 years old.
You were 12.
Yeah. And we have 3 core values in our company. Tell the truth, do the right thing, everyone benefits. And we have one mission, which is really to help you work with your technology better and to intelligently, methodically help it fuel your goals with white glove service.
You know, we have a similar mission. Our mission is to help small, medium-sized organizations change the world. We feel like when we enable them with these digital technologies, then they can focus on doing the good things that they do for their clients. So I guess it's no wonder why we're such good
It's no wonder at all.
So let's get to Slack. I'm sorry.
We got one more.
You got one more slide, my apologies.
Because you did it, I think I had to say, hey, we're doing it. There are 3 big situations where clients come to us, and the first is when their executives are really feeling like they are spending a lot of time riding herd on their IT team, their external or internal team, and they want someone to come in and really take it over and take ownership of it. And we help a lot of folks in that situation, and we can help plot it out, like if it's a complicated situation, even if you feel held hostage by your IT team. So we can do that. A lot of organizations are struggling these days to handle the remote operation piece of information technology, and I was saying that it's a big millennial issue, but frankly, it's just a big issue these days. We got to be able to work from wherever we are, and we got to be able to work with everyone, and that's actually one of the main reasons we're into Slack.
Yes.
Because I believe it's one of the best tools out there to enable this, so it's exciting. We're good with that. And then, needless to say, security, another big reason folks come to us to help.
Thank you. Here's what we're going to do today, and thank you for putting up with our commercial. Enough of that. We're going to be talking about Slack. What is it? What does it look like? How do you use it? What's it good for? What's it not good for? And how do you make it work for your organization? And I know that in talking with clients prior to the webinar, I had a number of you say, ooh, I heard about it, but don't know what it's all about. A number of you have said, I'm curious about it. Some of you have said, we're doing a pilot. Some of you have said, we're already using it, but we're not quite sure that we're using it the right way. So we'll share what we've learned.
Start with what it is. So Slack is, you can read it, but it's really a set of collaboration tools. We're going to demo it, do a demo in a moment, but it's, if you've used Facebook, if you've used Messenger, or if you've used WhatsApp, or if you use one of those messaging applications on your personal life, you know, and you're sitting around going, what can I do inside my office? This is what Slack answers. That's the question that Slack answers.
I'll tell you, we actually, a long, long time ago when I started the company, the whole company was on Yahoo Messenger. So, but like you said, I wanted something that was internal to the organization, so that I could be fairly confident that the conversations weren't leaking out to the bigger world. So we went and implemented Jabber, which is an internal kind of instant messaging platform. Mm-hmm. It wasn't as flexible. It was too much overhead for IT. And so we were struggling with, how can we really kind of promote these communications between the staff? And like you, I have an increasing number of remote staff. So, that's what Slack is. But Slack is really much more than just instant messaging. It's really collaboration. It's discussions. It's culture. It's so much more. So why don't we go and take a look at some of the numbers? Slack is, just really gaining in popularity. If you take a look at these 8 million active users.
It is exploding.
It is, yeah. And I think it's now a verb, just like the way we Google things.
Slack things.
We Slack things.
Yep.
I'll send you a Slack. Can you Slack me that? 500,000 organizations use Slack for business. 65% of Fortune 500 have paid Slack workspaces. On and on. And I'll tell you, for some of you who were thinking about this, several years ago when we first implemented Slack, one of my staff said, Joanna, I'm so glad we have Slack because all the cool companies have Slack. I tell you, you can't overestimate the value of having a tool that people are excited about using because they feel like it makes them modern and progressive and says something about the organization. So
we've gotten absolutely the same feedback, and it's pulled people closer together. So I would say it's a retention tool at this point.
I completely agree with you. So
So now you get to see Slack in action.
Yeah,
because
before we start talking about like what's it good for, we figured for those of you who've seen Slack, we're going to show it to you. So Heinan set up a demo site for us, right?
I did. It had nothing to do with it, but I'm going to show it to you guys. So this is an optimal demo site. Can everyone see this? Can you see this?
Yeah.
Oh, all right. We're going to. So I want to kind of just show you how. So this is the screen, and I want to show you real quick how what it's like and the different components of it. And I don't want you to be fooled by its deceptively simple approach. So the left-hand side of the screen right here, you're going to see a bunch of people, really, and these are all the folks that would be in your organization. And just the thing you can do in Slack is you can send a direct message, right? Joanna, she is now in my organization. I'm in her organization. I like this. I can say,
here, I have a question.
Exactly.
Right. And the little green dot tells you that Heinan Landa is active. So it's like C blocker there. The little green circle isn't filled. That tells you that
he's not logged in.
He's not logged in, or he's away, or inactive, or something.
Right. So you have an immediate sense of who is there and who isn't there.
Right.
In your organization, and that has been something that instant messaging platforms have had for a long time, and we've always found that very useful, and it's good, and it has that capability. You can do a little more here. For example, you all can see I'm talking with Joanna, but I can also call her. So there's like a little phone button, and we can do something like this. Would work. Should work. Worked
today.
It worked yesterday, no problem.
I can't. There you go.
Yeah, and it sets up a little telephone call between us, which she can answer, and we can just start talking right away. And if we want, we can actually turn on our cameras. And I'll stop that.
Just stop that. I'm answering it because then
we're right across the table from each other. But you can turn on a camera and you can actually have like a video conversation. So that's what's happening on the left side of the screen down here. On top, you have channels. I'm going to come back to channels in a second because I think it's probably the most important part of Slack. In the middle of the screen, you have the actual information, the back and forth. And then what you'll see is, in some cases, Slack will open up a third pane over here on the right-hand side that gives you even more specifics about a thread. So let's talk about channels in a thread for a second. Go into let's call water cooler conversation. This is starting to look very Facebook-ish. Okay. And the beautiful thing here is that you can post something interesting, like here's in traffic was all snarled over the DC area, but we want a conversation about this. So reply. Right. And you can see that yesterday Lauren replied. And now the replies open up here. Lauren said, "Oh my."
Right.
Okay.
Right.
And I said, now talking about a bizarre fiery crash on the Woodrow Wilson Bridge, but in other cases we could be talking about your annual conference, we could be talking about a specific issue on your computer, we could be talking about a marketing campaign, we could be talking about anything. And suddenly the conversation is contained in this thread. And if you're coming in and you haven't been part of the conversation and you want to join the conversation, you can jump in and in about 10 seconds catch up on everything. And I know we'll do it again later, but I want to juxtapose that with emails. Because if I have a team of folks working an annual conference and I'm sending out 10 emails, like an email with 10 people on it, each person gets that email. Everybody's going to do a reply all. They might add some people. They might drop some people. Then there's multiple threads running around. Maybe then 12, 15 people are involved. Everybody's filing those emails separately and independently. And you've had an exchange of 19 emails times 10 people. You got 190 emails floating around in your organization, all filed in different places.
And if you jump in late, right, like this might happen to me. Somebody might say, "Hey, Joanna, we've been talking about the conference page for X client. Can you weigh in?" And I'll say, "Sure, give me the background." If someone forwarded me the thread, it may or may not be complete, right, because somebody might have clipped, somebody may not have included all the replies. And it's confusing because it's like a repetition of the same information over and over again. So it's impossible to really do it via email. But with Slack, I can go in and say, "Oh, okay, I see. Here's the start of the thread. Somebody said, hey, I want you to look at the comp, and here's the feedback about SEO, and here's feedback about mobile, and here's concerns about content, and blah, 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 blah. Joanna, what do you think?
Right.
And in about 5 minutes, I see everything.
Even less. And it's very effective, and it's all centrally filed. So you can see other things I would talk about. You can post files.
That's right.
In Slack, so you can put files. It's not the best for supreme collaboration in this program, but for posting and sharing and talking about a file, it's fantastic.
So you're absolutely right. Let's emphasize that.
Sure.
It's not a platform for collaborating on the document. So if Brian and I, for example, are working on a proposal, we'll do that in Google Docs.
Right.
I might say, hey, Brian, take a look at the About Us section in this proposal deck. Here's the link. He'll go into it.
Right.
And
so you'll put the link here.
Exactly.
And everyone will have the link in the central location, but the actual collaboration on the document will be in Google Docs.
Correct.
Or in Office 365, or wherever we're doing it.
Correct. And we find it such an easy way to pass files around,
Yes,
as opposed to like emailing it,
Mm-hmm.
or as opposed to even maybe texting it. And it's staying within our environment.
Correct. And so that I just wanted to give you the kind of the general structure. I also wanted to share some interesting other things. Let's say inside of this, let's say this. I don't know if you guys see all these mentions.
Right.
Heinan, Landa, at Lauren, at Tanika. What happens is you're going back and forth talking about something, and you want to reference a specific person. You pull someone.
Get their attention.
Or get their attention. You want to pull them into the conversation.
Like Twitter.
Like Twitter, yeah. And so you put an @ in front of their name, and all of a sudden they get notified. And they're like, oh, this is important enough that someone wants my specific input. And so they're basically called in, they can click right into the discussion and add their 2 cents. So that's very useful. The other thing I would mention with Slack, and this is pretty big, is that it does all sorts of integrations. And there are approximately a gazillion other softwares that integrate with Slack. And so I very simple integration with a polling software. So we were kind of polling on which blog do we want next month. So it took me 2 seconds to just type in this little command, which blog do you want next month, and it created a poll that then went out to everyone in this channel. And you just select your poll, and it will tell you which blog.
And everybody sees the results too.
Very
so you've got a lot of transparency going on, and people see the results in real time, and it's super fun.
Right. And more about the integrations. But I just kind of wanted to give you guys a general sense of what the screen looks like, how it acts, and then.
Are you talking about channels now?
We can channels.
So I'll say I think channels are one of the most important things in Slack,
Yeah.
at least for a company like ours, because we're a digital agency and we're project-based and we're client-based, right? So what we've done at Matrix is we've set up a channel for every large initiative as well as for every client. So, for example, we're doing a redesign right now for, God, you know, we just completed a website redesign for Catholic Charities USA and for the U.S. Greens.
Mm-hmm.
They had their own Slack channel, and people get invited to the Slack channel who are specifically working on it. But our channels are all open, so I'm not part of the channel. But if I wanted to wander in and just see, hey, how's it going with CCUSA, or how's it going with Greens, because I like to keep up with the project, I might just scroll and make sure that things are moving along. People on the team find it absolutely critical to be able to talk with one another, you know, in the channel.
Yeah, and so the people who are in each channel are the ones who automatically get notified or can see the channels light up when there's information in them. And so you're not inundated with notifications about channels that you're not in, unless someone specifically mentions you.
And we'll talk about notifications later, because you're probably thinking, oh my God, my phone is going to be beeping all day long. And the answer is no, you can manage it.
You actually can, very well.
So just a little bit of background. So Slack is a platform. This is hosted in the cloud. This is not additional software that you have to host on a server. So for us, we moved from a self-hosted on-premise Jabber and went into Slack. It really requires no IT support, because actually one of the front-end developers who supports it, we have several admins who own it. You can access Slack via a web browser, but you can also access Slack via a special client that Slack has, and you can do it on your phone, you can do it on a tablet, and you can do it on your computer.
Yep.
I love the fact that I have Slack.
PCs and Macs, anywhere.
Absolutely.
Yes.
I love the fact that I have Slack on my phone and I have Slack on both my computers, the one at home and at the office, and so I feel like I'm always connected. And what's really nice about it as well is everything syncs, right? Like I'm seeing, if I send a message from my phone, I'll see it on my desktop.
Correct.
Another important thing about Slack, if you are curious about this, is there is a free tier. So we were actually on the free tier for a couple of years because we just didn't, we were doing that much in the way of integrations. I think you have 5 or 6 integrations. We had put in some integrations, and then we finally got to the point where we said, you know, we really need kind of more stringent data retention policies. If you're free tier, I think you can retain 10,000 messages. We don't really need to retain those messages. And we want to do some more integrations, and so we went to the paid tier, and it's still very inexpensive. But if you're looking to try this out, the free tier, you can get started this afternoon.
Yeah, you can. Although we'll talk about that a little bit, because I think one of the key issues in Slack is how to set it up so that it actually succeeds.
Absolutely.
And that is, yeah, so shall we pop back into the slides and keep on rolling?
Yes, thank you.
See if I can find them. Oh, look, here they are.
There you go. Now, you want to go to yours.
Presentation again.
There you go.
I'm going to do this.
Yes, you are. Okay, so we've done demo of Slack in action. Now I'm going to talk about how to use Slack, right? Because it's one of those things where I know I mentioned Slack, for example, in a peer group, and somebody said, well, you know, we set up, but it really happened. And I said,
I've heard that more than once.
Yes.
Where people will just say, hey, I spun it up.
Here's Slack.
Yeah, here's Slack.
And then, like, nothing happened. And you know, with Heinan and I, and this is one of the reasons why we decided to do the webinar, we really do believe, like anything else, any IT initiative, have to kind of go into it with intention, with a plan, right, with goals, with support, with training, onboarding. It doesn't have to be huge, but what are your intentions with Slack? And here are some of the reasons why we think Slack is really useful.
Yes, when you're creating Slack, when you're implementing Slack in your organization, there's all sorts of elements of Slack that you actually want to gear towards your specific organization and your specific culture. I think this is a list of things that you can do with Slack. You can notify each other. It's great for asking quick questions back and forth. It's great for creating chats, organizing projects and other information, and streamlining communication. So I think that's kind of overall what you can use it for. And when you go into it, and I think we'll probably get into this more later, but when you go into setting up for you go through all of these things, and you want to say, okay, this is Slack, but how do we use Slack for my organization?
Right.
Okay, and we'll talk about this a little bit more. When we put in we literally put out a rules of the road document.
And we
saying,
do the same thing.
Yeah, saying this is how we use Slack.
And this is what we use Slack for, and there are some things that you don't use Slack for.
Exactly.
So just to give you a quick example, we might say, hey, Slack is great for asking quick questions. Slack is great for, you know, having a group discussion about something. It does not take the place of an internal design review. We always do. Say we're doing a redesign for a client. We get together, we actually have a meeting. We may not all be in the same place, but we're presenting it at the same time. The designer is presenting it. And that we do via Slack because it is not effective to that asynchronously.
Right. And so what we did was we also made like a complete bifurcation. I've always wanted to use the word bifurcation.
Well, there you go. Now you're using
See, I've done it. So all of our client-facing work, our client-facing documents, our client-facing deliverables, they all stay in our client management system, secure, and they're under passwords. Slack takes care of all the back chatter, right? All the stuff that we're talking about internally on how we're doing our work, we used to do by email and instant messenger. And that is what we designated Slack for. So we did actually make a little quick list of what it's not good for, right? So we've already shown you in the demo that file sharing is great for the link.
It's not good for archiving.
Correct. And tough for record keeping. Now it is searchable. The one interesting thing is Slack is searchable, but it's not
organized.
It's not organized.
Folders.
Right.
Right. Naming conventions might be terrible. You know, all that stuff.
Exactly.
I'll tell you, just like text and email, it should not be used for difficult conversations.
That's right. If you're going to have a difficult conversation with an employee, you do not want it in Slack.
Right. Like anything else, you wouldn't send a text to someone saying you're fired or your performance was not up. Certainly do not do that over Slack. And we say that in-depth feedback that should be documented, don't do it in Slack, because it is easy to lose the documentation, in Slack. So I'll give you an example. Say we're doing a design review for a client, and the client gives us, 25 pieces of feedback on that. I'm not going to send that feedback to the designer via Slack. I might say, hey, Alex, we just got the feedback from the client that they promised. I'm going to go ahead and put it in the other system that we use, Jira, and I'll Slack you the link as well as assign it to you. So he's not going to use it as his task list either, but he's got a notification that he's got it. So now he's filed it, he's got the notification. It's so good for things like, hey, I'm 2 minutes late, meeting is going over, go ahead and get started, right?
Yeah.
If I do it via email, they may or may not see the email, and certainly on the phone, so I certainly can't make that phone call. It's so good for things like that.
And another thing, that we don't use Slack for project management.
Absolutely.
We use it for project communication. So we say, hey, Eric, when you were down at the client site, did you actually complete task 7 in our management software?
Right.
But we won't use it for the project management.
Absolutely.
It's really good at communication.
Absolutely.
So we put in a really nice slide, both of us did, about what concerns that people have about Slack.
Right. And I think that folks have said, hey, I've got concerns about Slack, and in some ways they have the same concerns about, say, an instant messaging platform.
Yes.
Right? So one of them is that it's a big time suck. So you're probably looking at this chatter and saying, oh my God, it's a big time suck. I think the way I feel about it, right? The going to be time sucks are going to use Slack, inappropriately or, as a way to waste time. But what I also find is it actually saves time. Because if you say to 3 people, hey, here's some things that I need to do today, please don't bother me for the next, half an hour, it actually saves time. And there are things that you can do so that it's not a time suck. But we also have found that it's actually reduced the amount of email in the organization, so it's not a time suck in that case.
So huge for us. And before we put in Slack, we've been working with it for about 1.5 years now. Before we put in Slack, I would say that people felt email was making them frenetic.
Yes.
A little crazy. So for me, I'm a filer. I don't know how many of you are filers out there, but when my inbox kind of acts as my to-do list. And so if I get a bunch of emails, I am frantically trying to delete them or organize them so that I can concentrate on the actual things I need to do. What I found was over the years, if I could get it down to about 40 emails in my inbox, I float, I'm above water. Before we put in Slack, my emails were exploding, over 200, 300. Sometimes I'd come on a weekend, or I'd get on my computer on a weekend and spend 8 hours to knock it down to 90. And I felt like it was manageable. I felt like I had accomplished a lot, which in reality I hadn't. Once we put in Slack, once people started using it, now if my emails are at 50, it's high. I'm usually down at 20. It's a relief. It takes almost no time at all to run through Slack notifications because all the information is self-contained. So it's not Facebook. It's not going to be something where people are being social on it all the time. It's a work tool, right? So I view it, I think it makes it more accessible, but certainly I think it saves time and saves a lot of stress rather than suck it down. So
now I will say, I've had some staff say, hey, I don't want to put Slack on my phone because it's all on, right? And then it means that I'm always working. So we have a couple of rules, and so do you. I mean, you can put Slack on Do Not Disturb. It means if Heinan and I are on Slack, which we are now, and he sends me a Slack at 10 p.m., since I've got it snoozed, I'm not going to get that Slack until I'm unsnoozed. So I'm not going to get it until the next morning.
Right.
Unless he says, look, this is an emergency, go ahead and ping her. And
we even put in a company-wide snooze so that at 10 p.m. all the phones and all notifications snooze until 7 a.m. And you can override them in an emergency, but that was kind of, hey, let people sleep. But that goes quite corporate culture and how we set up Slack to mirror our corporate customers.
Right.
I think we have a slide on that too.
We do. And I think another common concern is that some people have said, well, this is a big change, right? To go from email and phone, or actually less phone, really to go from email to Slack, and kind of navigating the rules between Slack and email. Sometimes people say, we can't figure it out. And I think for any organization, you're going to figure it out on your own. But for the quick question, are we confirmed for this meeting? I might send that to an external person, but internally I might say, hey, are we confirmed for this meeting? And that's so much, it's just taken care of in seconds as opposed to more time within an email. I think you're going to just have to figure out, like, what type of change this is. And in our organizations, it's been pretty intense, but it's been gradual and people really love it.
Yes, you don't have a problem with the intensity of the change, because if I'm putting this in, I want the change.
I really agree with you. I'm the same way.
It is a concern, but you will see a shift in your organization with this. So I think it's a good.
You're always going to have people who say it's change.
It's change.
I'm someone who likes change.
I like change too. So there we go.
I do what we do. Chief troublemaker.
Exactly.
You're a kindred spirit. So. I think the big thing is, when do you use email? When do you use
I think we covered this nicely, right? I mean,
yeah.
Exactly right.
And I think some of it is like here's an example. Right? Hey, I sent you the brochure. I need your feedback by Friday, and you've got a task in Jira. Right? I'm not giving someone another task via Slack. I'm giving them a notification. So what I say is, use Slack as a notification. Don't use it as a task management. Almost all of us have different task management systems, and if you start using it for task management,
and I have found that all the integrations to Slack for task management systems have to date been rather poor. With the possible exception of one called Asana. So if people are using Asana, they just came out with a brand new Slack integration where you can literally take comments from Slack and right-click and turn them into tasks in Asana.
It's funny that you say that. We actually we'll do the same thing. We'll take whole Slack discussions and stick them in Jira because the documentation of the conversations is so useful.
Right.
But I will say absolutely that Slack has resulted in fewer emails to staff. And I think it's allowed people to breathe a sigh of relief that they don't have to check their emails all the time.
Yeah.
Right? And because they really are just checking the channels that they care about, they're able to manage the conversations. And because of Slack, you have a very good way to granularly control notifications. So, for example, on my phone, the only notifications I get are if you mention Pineda, or if it's in the news channel. Those are the only things. Like, the world could be falling down unless you mention Pineda. I'm not getting that one.
No, I agree. We do the same thing. But I have a funny story about it. When we first started, when we were just starting the pilot, we said, okay, well, we'll just turn notifications on for every Slack message.
Oh, my God, no.
And one day, I turned on my phone, and I felt like someone had thrown a deck of cards at me of notifications. And that's when we said, oh, we can limit these, and that was that worked out pretty well. And that became one of our rules of the road. Here's how you handle the notification.
Right, exactly. It's like email, right? You send an email to the entire staff, right? I mean, like any system, you're going to have governance. You're going to have rules.
Correct.
What do you keep? What do you not keep? What's in an email? What goes into your project?
When do you put in a high priority email, and
Absolutely.
when do you put in just a regular email?
Exactly.
Yeah. So all those things put in. Oh, so now let's talk about something very exciting, which is what makes a Slack implementation successful.
Right, exactly. I think we get screenshots, right, for like how we're using it? I think we do. So, okay. So number one
I think so. I don't know what's next on
rules
these slides.
of the road.
Yeah.
How you use Slack and how your organization uses Slack.
Right, and the document we both talked about. Okay, so let's go talk about it for just 1 second.
Go to your document. I think you want to show that off, right?
Not yet.
Okay.
Mine will go down in the adoption
okay.
part.
So here's what I would say. It's kind of like there's email, and then there's how your organization uses email, right?
Right.
There's Word and how your organization uses Word.
So let me give an example. So we have this in our company. When we send an email about a client, we insist on putting the client code in the subject. We're
the same way, and we send an email.
Exactly, because there were so many emails, you had to be able to sort and search on them.
Yes.
And if there's an urgent email that requires immediate action, we put an exclamation mark in front of that client ID. And so we worried because we've been doing that for a year. For a year. Like 20 years? How long have we had email? And we were like, when we go into Slack, how are we going to duplicate this idea of like talking about a specific client or calling people's attention to it?
Right.
So I think like you, we have a channel set up for each client. Right.
Exactly.
And that turns out to be really, really useful. So we know exactly which clients we're on, and if we're on the client team, we're in that channel.
Right, exactly. I think we skipped a couple slides. If you go back, we skipped some slides when we're talking about, like go back under what's useful for. I want to show, and I think this is useful for, like, how do we use Slack? Back, and then just quickly go through these. So this is
good.
Go to the. Here's just so we show you the next one, this one. So this is what a notification looks like. Like if it's on your phone, you'll get, you'll see that on the phone. It says Slack, hey Kevin, hey MJ, you're able to get those images. If you've got notifications in your browser, you might get a notification in the bottom right.
Like it looks like this.
That looks like that one. Then if you've got the Slack client open, then you're also going to see like little numbers next to the different channels.
Right. Channels will be bolded. The ones that have new information will be bolded.
Right.
And if you were specifically mentioned, you'll have it next to it.
Exactly.
If you were mentioned twice, it'll be 2.
Right.
Did that?
Yeah, there you go.
Okay.
So here's another one.
Right. So this is what I meant by the bolded channels.
Yes,
here.
exactly.
So there's some new information about in the annual conference, but it doesn't necessarily continue.
Right.
But I probably will want to read it when I'm starting to pay attention to the annual conference.
Exactly. So, and you can see here on the right, here we've got direct messages. So it's like this is the beginning of your direct message with Joanna Pineda. So this one, just here, this is an example of using Slack to send messages between multiple people outside of a channel.
Right.
So I might say, so for example, on Friday, I was at the doctor and I was running late. I sent a message to the 3 people who I figured would care the most about me. So I started a direct history with just those 3 people. And in this case, this is a message between Joanna and you'll see there are 3 people in this particular one. Go to the last one. This is an example of a chat within a channel. So you see I said to everybody, hey, I'm working from home, blah, blah, blah. And then Jessica specifically @mentions J. Pineda, thank you. And then you'll see here, and I @mentioned a couple other people, and then you'll see then there was an uploaded image. Go to the next one. You see here, there's this kind of library of GIFs. And,
you can enable or not enable, and
we've enabled it.
And we have too.
So.
And in fact, in our pilot group, so when we talk about implementation, one of them is to take a small group of people from different teams and departments and actually have them use it a little bit.
Right.
See? And so we did that, and then we brought them all together in a conference call to talk about what was good and what was bad. And someone from our support center said, hey, I feel like it's just not fun enough because, we have a fun culture just like you do.
Yes.
And they're like, in our old instant messaging system, we were able to use all sorts of pictures and GIFs and everything. And before she finished her sentence, one of my engineers had integrated and turned on the GIF feature in Slack, which will let you just pop up tons and tons.
Now, see what Lauren did here? She did /GIF, thumbs up. So you can do /GIF, face palm, /GIF, dance for joy. And some of them will not exist. But we set the setting to Giphy's clean only, and so
did we.
Yeah, good. And so
once we realized that there were different settings, that we should not have a PG-13 rated GIF.
No, we definitely have clean only. But what happens is it takes seconds, but it's a way to, like you said, add a little personality and culture. Yeah. But if you see after the thumbs up one, Lauren sent a copy of the conference brochure. So this is such an easy way to share documents back and forth.
Exactly.
So are some of the ways that we at Matrix Group have kind of implemented Slack, and Slack does so many things, but we've kind of figured out how we use Slack. And I think that's important. Right?
Very.
In every organization, you're going to figure out what's useful I believe in this very strongly.
I do, very, very strongly.
Training and onboarding.
We spent a lot of time deciding what was important to train people on and putting together a 1 hour long training session for all our folks. Now, just to set the stage, we have a lot of people working remotely all the time.
Me too.
I mean, we have, out of our 41 people, maybe 10 are in the office at any given day, and our entire support center, or most of it, is in Pittsburgh, and we have people in North Carolina and in Colorado, and I'm running around all the time, and so it's tough to bring everyone together. So we put together almost a webinar, really, with video that we ran 7 days in a row. Maybe we overkilled it, but 7 days in a row we ran it a lunchtime training, and we made sure that everyone was in on it. And of course, the one rogue executive who was running around who didn't take the training, we hunted him down and gave him a one-on-one.
To make sure that everyone really knows the rules.
Exactly. It's very important, otherwise you get overwhelmed with it, and people don't know how to use it. So what command can you use? How do you manage the notifications? When to mention? These are all the things we've talked about. Seem simple, but if it's just me, then we can use Slack. If we don't teach our organizations, they actually won't know how to use it. So.
But they'll use it wrong.
Or they use it wrong.
According to our guidance, right?
Which would basically end up aggravating people.
Right.
Think about people sending emails that frustrate you.
Right.
It's just a concept.
Right. Right.
It's worse, I think.
Just like we provide training. When you start at Matrix Group, we provide training. I mean, and you think, wow, everyone knows how to use email. Yes, but there's a difference between how Matrix uses email. So you have the client name, we have the client name, and we have all caps header that signals to the client what this email is about.
Mm-hmm.
It's a need approval, need feedback, timeline change,
right.
Deadline. So
and every organization has these things.
Right. If you don't, people can kind of make up their own rules, is what I say. So always act with intention, no matter what the platform.
Right. So I would say 2 more things on the training and onboarding. The first is that when we implemented Slack, we literally had a go-live date. And our engineers go to everybody internally and make sure they were actually set up properly on Slack, on their laptops, on their phones, whatever they needed.
So we didn't do that. We went with the go with God. Like, go for it.
Yeah, we didn't do the go with God. We were very, very deliberate about it. And the onboarding piece is that we taped one of these trainings, and that's a requirement for every new employee that comes in. They have to watch that video to get up to snuff on Slack. So more training and onboarding. We came up with these. I don't know if can you guys see them? I can blow them up. We came up with an ongoing series. Yeah, cheat sheets and an ongoing series of infographics that we actually posted in Slack on a regular basis. That kind of summarized, hey, here's how Optimal does notification settings. Okay, that's what this means. This is where you go. This is where you find it. Here's our whole do not disturb. Here's how you deal with your mobile phone versus your desktop. And we just put out these things we give everyone the rules at the beginning, but then we popped up infographics maybe every week as we progressed. So those sorts of things.
What we did is, and we do it regularly, is we'll do, what did we call it? It was like, it wasn't learn. We called it, we came up with a name for it.
Something.
It was like a tech lunch or something. Yeah. And what we did is we brought in food, and we basically said, everybody come on down, bring your phones, bring your laptops, we're going to talk about Slack. And like everybody, like people would just raise their hand and say, hey, I'm in trouble with X. And somebody would say, oh, I know how to do that. So it wasn't like almost everybody is an expert in Slack in some way, shape, or form.
Right, and in different parts of it.
Different parts of it.
Yeah.
And then somebody said, Joanna, your Slack is really pretty. What did you do? And Roger said, oh, I had a palette for that. Like, well, you didn't get it? I thought everyone got it. So, like, he'll say, here, let me send you the hex colors. And somebody else said, getting too many notifications on my phone. And somebody said, ooh, let me make sure that, like, let me help you with that. So it was fabulous. And we recommend doing that, not just with Slack, but kind of in general.
In general,
maybe
very
once a quarter.
Yeah.
Just I can't remember what we call it, like a tech boot camp or something. And, like, come with questions and come with answers.
Yeah.
What we said.
Yeah, it's a great idea. You get some nice peer learning. So this is one of the I think the absolute keys to Slack. So we do our Slack, and we showed you how fun it was, and go more to that a little.
By the way, let me just say
Go ahead,
something.
please.
If you have questions, by the way, please send them to Joanna Pineda, because something
Big Three
haywire.
group does not seem to be connected to the
Group
chat.
3 got kicked out of the chat. So anyway, so if you have questions, please send them to Joanna.
Cool. So how Slack can represent your culture. So what I found was, and this is, I didn't mean to do that. What I found something very interesting, that Slack is so compelling once you start to use it as a communication tool, that especially for people who you don't see in your office all the time, and this is of course becoming more and more common with more remote work
Yep.
and more people traveling around that are not in the office, Slack becomes your real connection to the company.
Absolutely.
And so it is critical when you set it up to make it represent your corporate culture. So we have, you saw in the demo, there's a water cooler channel. Well, you know,
You guys have a kitchen channel. We have a water cooler.
yeah, you have a water cooler channel. For us, our kitchen is our pride and joy. So we changed the name of the water cooler channel to kitchen. Because in our office, you could come.
About the kitchen.
It's all about the kitchen. You come, we're going to feed you. You know, we're going to cook breakfast on Friday mornings. And lo and behold, every Friday morning, there's pictures in the kitchen channel of what crazy things people made for breakfast for each other on Friday morning. And you have the water cooler channel.
We do, and water cooler is for the, hey, I'm running the Crystal City 5K, does anyone want to come? Hey, Roger, pictures of the dog. Hey, my neighbor is, has a cat up for adoption, or I'm headed to, the Koinadaba for lunch, anybody want to come? Actually, it's not true, we have a lunch channel. It's the, I'm going to Koinadaba for lunch, does anybody want to come? That's what the lunch channel's for. So what we have done is we've allowed that. So I think it's all about, what will you allow in your organization.
Correct.
That becomes part of your implementation of Slack.
Because if your culture is not like that,
Yes.
you don't want that.
Correct.
Keep it down.
Keep it down, make it all business. In our case, I know it's going to happen anyway, but also I don't want it to happen because I think it's an important part of the glue people. And when they get along, my big school better because they have a personal relationship. And it is so important for the remote people. What I find is the remote staff say, oh, it's really neat to see. I mean, it's not that many posts every day in water cooler, but they see the water cooler and they get a sense of what's happening at the company. They get a sense of what people are talking about, and then they feel more connected. That's been critical.
Yeah, it's very critical. So one of the big issues with kind of making a virtual team connected is trying to imitate digitally some of what they call hall bumps. Right, when you're down the hall and you see someone, you're like, hey, how you doing? Oh, how was it last night? And then all of a sudden an idea emerges, right? That really helps your business. And so the idea on the virtual side is what can you do to connect those things? So we find these types of channels really mirror our culture and also helps with that. The thing that we do quite a bit is we like to praise our people for doing something right.
Yes.
And classic management, right? 60. What was it called? That management book, Catch Someone Doing Something Right. 1 Minute Manager.
Yes,
Sorry,
yes,
I'm thinking 6 seconds. 1 Minute Manager. So we created we were able to easily program in a command into Slack called /kudos. So you want to give one of your teammates a compliment, feel free, take it. We hit /kudos, and it automatically puts it in a channel. You fill out a little form, and and it compliments, and then we read them out in our weekly webcast that we do.
Very nice. Well, we have NEOs, so they were read at the staff meeting. We created something called the fundamental, or the BANG fundamental. So you have your values, we have the company fundamentals, and they're basically the rules to guide your behavior here at Matrix Group. We actually have more than 3. We have do or do not, there is no try, never let your boss make a mistake, always be honest, always be candid, so we have these fundamentals. And what we do is we open every meeting with a 2-minute discussion of a fundamental. And if you want a random fundamental to talk about, you can go to any Slack channel, do BANG fundamental, and it'll give you a random one.
Which is great.
So
perfect.
Yeah. So what it does, and what I love about this is it makes it easy to weave the fundamentals into meetings. I find is when you do it on a regular basis, it really does manage behavior. It really starts to seep into the culture. So people will say things like, man, we screwed up. We didn't. We weren't candid. We screwed up. We let our boss make a mistake. We screwed up, whatever it is.
Right, because they tie what they're doing to the value, and it's a way to use Slack to communicate the value with everyone here. And it's a way to make it mirror your culture. And that's what's so beautiful about the package.
Exactly.
And you can do it in different ways. So it's funny when Slack gives you the option to change the loading messages. So when the program comes up and it's connecting to the cloud, you can display messages. So we put our values in there. And so every time we turn on Slack, it throws a new value in there.
Very nice.
Random. So
okay, we're 10 minutes. We got to keep going.
Oh, so we missed one thing, which I think is important to note. Everyone has access to all or most channels.
We're the same way.
This is the way we are. We're a very transparent company. We like to share financial information with our team. We're very open. We have very, very few closed channels. But I should tell you that Slack has the ability to secure a channel. And you can say only these 3 people are allowed in this channel, and only these people can even see that this channel exists. So again, you've got your culture, and you got to make it match your culture. Okay, let's see. Oh, channel. You can already see what crazy stuff is happening in there.
And you saw the dog.
And we saw the water cooler channel.
Anyway.
And there's
our bank fundamental.
There's your bank fundamental.
There's know when to escalate an issue.
Perfect. So this is great. You want to start with this? You want me to take this?
No, you should take this.
Okay.
We even did a video on this. How do you get this adopted in your organization?
Right. So one of the key things is, great, we're putting in Slack, and this is where I've seen it fail also, just like any other IT initiative, right? How do I get it in the organization, and how do I get people using it? So for me, there's 2 main things you have to do. The first one I completely gave away on my LinkedIn video. You've got to have the leadership in your company buy into this.
Right.
Not just buy into this, but model it and evangelize it and be part of it.
And embrace it, absolutely.
Right, because if you're trying to do this under EDOs and not paying attention to it, and they don't care about it, and they're not going to get their Slack notifications,
and they can't be part of the conversations.
Then they lose they can't be part of the conversation.
It's clearly not that important a platform because X is not part of it.
Correct.
Right.
And so it sets the stage for failure. And so it's very important that you have buy-in at the top level.
We have ED CEOs on this, thinking about this. Make sure that it's something that you will be part of. I love Slack.
Ditto.
Right.
Yeah. The second thing is, Slack gives you a bunch of, did we get analytics slides that I can show? Slack gives you a bunch of analytics to show how people are using using the package. And we very deliberately monitored these analytics, and we found that too many people were sending private messages to each other and weren't really using the public the channels to share information. And so we talked to the team about it. It's like, stop messaging each other just individually. But if it's important to the channel, put it in a channel, put it in a thread, put a post up, let people know.
Absolutely.
And I found that over time, that reshifted and made a difference. And you can just watch, and it just tells you your members sent meaning your Slack membership, sent a total of 7,000 messages last week. That's 200 fewer than the week before. 30 public, 4% private, 65% were direct. So.
And trying to get that number down too.
Yeah.
So you'll actually see people say, let's take this into a channel because more people need to see this happening, right?
Right.
Lots of analytics. So we're running out of time.
We're running out of time.
So let's just say this.
Go ahead.
There's some really cool integrations that you can do with Slack, and you did a really great one.
Nice one. In our CRM, when we bring up a client page, we can click on it, and it will take us direct into the Slack channel for the client, so we can see all the background communication, the internal communications about the work we're doing for the client. It was a nice simple one.
You don't need to do integrations to get started, but when you've got Slack implemented, then you might say, ooh, how can I get this integrated with email? How can I get this integrated with my Outlook, for example?
Correct.
Management.
I think I put a screenshot in here. This is an integration with getting a poll, so I don't know if you guys can see this over here. Right-clicked on this comment and create a poll from this comment, or I could create an Asana comment, or so this is some of the integrations work. Other ones go in via like the commands here.
I talked about this. It's such a great way to engage remote staff. We've talked about it.
We've polled our remote staff, and they all say to a T that Slack has really pulled them in tighter with the organization.
Same here.
So, big question for people. And you can set Slack up to be as secure as you need it, to the point where if you pay for the highest level of Slack, which I think is like $12 or $15 a person, depending on how you pay for it, you can do full like compliance exports for various, but you can also have the very standard two-step verification, two-factor authentication, so that people don't get in, and you also have a lot of control over how to archive your data and whether or not you want to retain your data and how long for.
We have a lot of confidence in Slack.
Mm-hmm.
You have auto deletion. I think once it's over 30 days, it's automatically deleted because we said Slack is not a place to archive documentation. We have two-step verification that's required. And we have, as part of our governance, we say, do not send passwords over Slack.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And so a couple quick slides.
How do you get started? You're probably saying, wow, this is all like ponies and rainbows. How do I get started, Joanna and Heinan?
Okay, unicorns.
Unicorns, right. So here's what we recommend. Create a pilot. Start a small group. Maybe say, okay, for the folks who are working on the brochure, for the folks who are working on the annual conference, for the folks who are, organizing the office move, right? Let's set up Slack, and here's what you guys should use it for. Get some feedback, develop governance, and then roll it out. Now, in our case, we just, it wouldn't have worked to have a pilot because everyone would have said, what the heck, why am I not part of this? So we just kind of looked it up, but on a regular basis, we were getting feedback from folks.
We had a pretty big pilot.
We actually, it's funny, Brian, I don't know if you remember this, I said let's do a Slack pilot for 2 weeks. So we went out, we had a meeting, we talked about it, and then after 2 weeks I was like, what do you think? And they're like, what? Like, just roll.
Yeah, we're already using it.
Yeah, we're already so don't take it away.
Great.
Yeah, you can get started free here, and it's all good. So Matrix webinar closes with an action plan because we would like you to walk away from this webinar or hang up the phone with some ideas. So the first question is, what business problems could you solve by using Slack? Is it, you want the remote staff to be more engaged? You want to reduce the amount of email? Do you want more collaboration on certain projects? Like whatever it is, do a demo and then do a pilot.
Correct.
Any thoughts on that?
No, that's a very good way, three-step process. It's good to through what business problems you're trying to solve. That to me is critical. Because if you're just like, hey, we can have more collaboration, if there's no problem there.
Right,
yeah.
Exactly. It's also good to have evangelists in the organization who are willing to be helpful to other people when they have a problem. And in our case, it's not IT, which I think has taken the pressure off IT. We've got maybe 3 or 4 people who are like kind of the Slack gurus. We even have a Slack issues channel.
Yeah, we have a Slack help channel.
Oh, there you go. I guess these things just happen. So if you all have questions, please send them to Joanna Pineda. I just had a question earlier about, is this webinar being recorded? And the answer is yes. We have contact information for us here. And again, we don't own any piece of Slack,
right.
Although Optimal Networks, if you are looking for assistance as part of their kind of practice of supporting your organization with technology, will help you get started with Slack. They'll help you do a rollout, and they'll even help you develop governance. We don't do that as an organization, although we love it, and we'll certainly talk to you about how we do Slack here at the office, but Optimal can help you out. So be in touch with Heinan if you'd like
absolutely, if you want extra help on that.
So do you have any questions?
Oh, am I supposed to know that?
No, I'm asking. I don't think we have any questions. So anyway, look at that. It's noon. I guess we answered everyone's questions.
We did good.
Go to the next slide. If you do have, is that it?
If
you'd like to give us some love on social media, please, give us a shout out on social media. We're at Matrix Group and your Optimal Networks.
Optimal Networks.
Here's our contact information, and let you know about future webinars. And happy slacking. Have a terrific week.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you.
Bye.